most people can organize stuff and can set up meetings and clear calendars and things like that. But yeah, I think it's personality and just having like a little bit of experience in everything, right, and making sure like you're speaking of that when you're having the meeting.
My first interaction was like, okay, she's well put together. She knows how to speak. You know what I mean? And she looks like she's here to work. You know, she's here to turn this thing into something that really could be a long-lasting thing. And that's what's important to Kris, Dave, and myself, is like being with people that believe the vision, but not only believe the vision, want to continue to push the vision forward, right, and want to add to the vision.
I've always been a natural born leader. Like I always make this joke where in high school, I was like the captain of the cheerleading team and I couldn't do a cartwheel. I feel like at 3isFor, my leadership journey just came naturally, like month over month. You know what I mean? As you guys built trust in me and I built trust in you. When you have your own business, you have to wear every single hat. I'm a firm believer in I can't manage or lead something I don't understand. Right. So even if I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, this I'm gonna outsource, this I'm gonna have someone else do it, it was always very important for me to understand the work.
Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your guy, JoJo Simmons, and this is the For Good podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, where we're measured on what we do and not what we have. And yes, as you can see, we are back in the Yurt. And today, my special guest is Tai Ceme, who works here at 3isFor, head of production for us. And really, her story here at 3isFor and her story in life is an interesting one, an inspirational one that I feel like a lot of people should hear. As not only, I'm sure this is not your final stop. There's many things you're going to continue to do in life, but I think it's interesting for people to hear kind of your introduction to 3isFor, how you got here, all that. So we're going to ask a bunch of questions, but I want people to know that when you see me in the Yurt, they're gonna be special segments. Like when you see me with Kris, those are, me chopping it up with my co-founder. And when you see me with Tai, these are the little Tai segments. We like to call this segment Tai's Light. Aww. Because Tai brings so much light to 3isFor, and thanks. She really does grow every project here as she continues to keep stepping up in the presence of what she's doing. So first of all, we want to say thank you, Tai, for coming on the For Good podcast. It's not easy to get most of you guys that work with us on here. Everybody's a little shy, I would say, but you are not as shy as most. So thank you for coming on here, Tai.
Thank you for having me, JoJo. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to dig into it.
Oh, we're good. Oh, we got some things to dig into. Okay. I got my questions ready.
Let's dig.
First of all, I want to talk about. I would love for you to share how you were introduced to 3isFor and how you landed here with us at 3isFor.
So it's actually a really interesting story. So just to backtrack a little bit, I was living in California for a while. I moved back to New York like accidentally. It wasn't planned. And I kind of wanted a career pivot. I wanted to do something that allowed me to travel more.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't know what that was or how to get what I was desiring. So I was like, I'm just going to go into like virtual assisting, like just doing random virtual work so that I can travel. So I joined like a virtual assisting platform, and within a few weeks really, I met Kris.
Yes. And for clarity, Kris is obviously people know from Yurt's our co-founder, CEO of the company, I call him the big dog. You know what I mean? I call him the big dog, the biggest dog in the yard for sure. So yeah, and that's dope, man, that you were on that virtual, assistant app, and you ended up getting, Kris ended up matching up with you would say, on that virtual assisting app.
And I remember it was so funny because I remember the manager who manages all the VAs telling me hey, this is a very special client because we had him paired with someone else before, and they kind of
Can I bring that up? Can I bring that up? Can I bring it up from my perspective? Yes. So yes, this is great. I remember Kris bringing that to Dave and I, obviously. And he was like, man, I'm about to get rid of this app because I didn't really like who they paired me up with. He's like, I'm going to try one more time. And that one more time was Tai. It was Tai.
I'm so honored.
So can you tell me how that happened and how that all unfolded, how you guys got paired up and how that
it's actually really
started?
crazy because when I first got on the platform, they were like preempting me that it's going to take a long time to like build clientele, to get steady work. Like you have to be patient with the process.
Wow.
And I actually met Kris within the first month and I had like 8 clients within the first month.
Wow.
And they said that's like unheard of. So when I actually got off the platform, they're like, why would you leave? Like, you are one of the only people who's gotten this many clients.
I got a full-time job.
Exactly. But yeah, I remember the lady telling me, she was like, yeah, this is a really special client. He was paired with someone and he was super disappointed. So we really need you to, you know, shine and make sure like he is a priority. They were nervous because, again, I was new, but I was booking so many clients that they were just like, we're going to give him to you. And then I think within our first conversation, Kris and I hit it off and he was like, oh yeah, you can do way more than just cleaning my inbox.
I like that.
Yeah.
So before we jump into other questions, because my mind is spinning because I'm hearing the story on your perspective from how you got here. Could you tell the listeners that are sitting there trying to figure out a way, what made you so different on that app where you had so many clients? Like, how were you able to stand out? If you had to tell somebody, how can they stand out in a room? Because that was you standing out in a room, essentially, and saying, you know, I had more clients than they ever would have thought I could have got. How were you even capable of doing that?
Well, I think for one, it's just having so much experience in so many different things. Like I tell people all the time, like New York of course, has a lot of pros and a lot of cons, but one of the pros is just experience. Like I have experience in so many weird different things. So I think that's why I was able to connect with a lot of clients. And then just like, it's honestly personality. Like literally people would just hire me because they like me. Like, you know?
I love that.
And that's like half the battle. Cause like a lot of the work that they're asking you to do is like busy work. Like most people can organize stuff and can set up meetings and clear calendars and things like that. But if they like you as a person, you know, Kris also wasn't the only person who offered me a job from that platform. There was another actual media company as well who offered me a job too within like the same time.
I don't think they were intentional and for good.
They weren't for good. And they were like LA based and you guys know how I feel about California. So I was like, I'm good, I'm straight.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's personality and just having like a little bit of experience in everything and making sure like you're speaking of that when you're having the meetings.
So what I heard from you is trying new things, stepping out, networking, and making sure that you show up, do the work enthusiastically, right?
Absolutely. And don't count out like little things that you've done. Because I think people like, if this isn't on my resume and I didn't work here for 3 years, like I'm not going to include it in my experience or I'm not going to speak towards it. But anything that you've done
is experience.
Yes. And a lot of it you can transfer into other things.
Yes.
And that app showed me that as well.
Wow. I love that. This interview started off amazingly.
Yay.
This is really great. Let's talk about, we're still on the 3isFor tip, how you started here. Let's talk about your first interaction with myself, right?
Oh.
How was that interaction? How did you first meet me? I can give you my perspective, but I'd love to hear your perspective of how you first met me. I could say, though, to lead it into it, like Kris was like, okay, we officially hired Tai to be here full time, and we're going to do this whole team thing.
Yes.
And we're going to come up to here, basically. We came up here.
To the farm,
This is before the Yurt was here, but we essentially were here.
Yes.
And that was going to be my first time meeting a new team member, which I was excited about.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, and I hate to sound like this, but hearing a black woman was coming on the team was exciting for me. Not to say that it could have been any color. It could have been yellow, green, red, blue. Didn't matter. But I thought that it was always interesting to give opportunities to people that look like me.
Yeah.
And somebody that just doesn't look like me and got the job, but somebody that is qualified to do the job, good enough to do the job, but looks like me.
How did you know I was black?
Come on, your name's Tai.
I'm like, Kris was like, I hired a black girl.
No, he never said your race either,
kidding.
but Tai, I'm like, it's either a black guy or a black woman, right? But I knew it was a woman because he told me he was a woman. So I'm like, I've never met a white woman named Tai.
That's funny.
But there might be one out there. Shout out to White Tai, you know. But no, seriously. So what was your first interaction with me, and how was that?
Well, so my first interaction with you was
and when did you find
call.
out I was a co-founder?
Almost during our first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Kris told me about the three of you guys right away.
Oh, he brags about me?
Yes, he bragged about you guys. So my first interaction with you was on like a group call.
Yep.
But also, I think your camera was off, so it
Yep.
wasn't like
It wasn't like a real
face-to-face
interaction. It was like a high thing.
And you know, sometimes like when you get on the call, you can be a little dry. So I was just like, I don't know if he's
that day. I probably was probably.
He's like,
I
hey,
don't
Ty,
know.
like nice to meet you. It was just like cool. So I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna be. You know, like I just didn't know. I didn't know what to anticipate. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, I know your background, where you come from. So, and I've also been in celebrity spaces before. And it just depends on the person. Like some people are a little bit more open. Some people are a little bit more reserved and protective.
Right.
So I wanted to respect your process and your space. So when we got to the farm, I thought it was a great first interaction. You welcomed me with open arms. You talked to me. You joked with me. So I immediately felt comfortable. I immediately was like, okay, like he's one of those celebrities that are like chill. Like he's not gonna, you know what I mean? So it was a welcome. It was a warm welcome, honestly.
No, I was happy that we were able to get the help, but also Kris ranted and raved how well you were originally cleaning just his inbox, right?
Cleaning inbox.
And how you were so much more and could be so much more for the company. So yeah, man, you know, my first interaction was like, okay, she's well put together. She knows how to speak. You know what I mean? And she looks like she's here to work. You know, she's here to turn this thing into something that really could be a long-lasting thing. And that's what's important to Kris, Dave, and myself is like being with people that believe the vision, but not only believe the vision, want to continue to push the vision forward and want to add to the vision, right? You know, over here, we're very open door where it's like everybody can have, from the CFO to anybody can have an opinion.
Right,
and we want to hear it, you know? And it could be on the creative side of things, right? And that's always how we kind of let it. So I thought that I was just happy to have another set of ears, set of eyes, and another, you know, another mind on kind of projects.
Yeah.
So what was your vision for yourself at the time, though, when you first came here? Like, when you decided to, I'm going to come here full time, what were you seeing yourself as being? Like, what was your vision coming here?
I just saw myself, I was like, I'm just going to be like the social media manager. Like, that's all I saw. Like, and I was content with that. I was happy with that. Kris remembers, I was ecstatic. You know, like I was just like,
do you say that you thought that right away because you know that you're good at aesthetically pleasing things, you're good at making sure things look organized? Was that
Absolutely.
like, this is one of my strengths. Where is something I can bring to this?
Right, and it was the need of the company, to my understanding at the time. And I was like, well, this is something I know I can excel at. So that was my, you know, that was my vision in the beginning.
Dope. Now let's talk about your step up. Right? Your vision was, your beginning was cleaning emails and you thought you were going to do social media, all that stuff. And as we evolved, the team is obviously not huge, not completely small, but we can count them all on two hands right now, right? So everybody kind of needed to step into new roles and step up and kind of, you know. So let's talk about you now leading projects instead of you were managing them before and maybe a little bit and kind of, you know, booking things, but now you're leading projects. How was that transition for you?
I feel like it was really natural. So it's funny because I talk about this with Kris all the time too. Like, I've always been a natural born leader.
Wow.
So it's never, I have never gone with the only thing I intentionally led was my beauty brand. Obviously that was my intention, but I've never gone in intentionally like, hey, I'm gonna lead this. It's just, I naturally always fall into that space. And I think it's also because I'm really good at organizing, compartmentalizing, and like putting things in a certain box. So I feel like at 3isFor, my leadership journey just came naturally, like month over month. You know what I mean? As you guys built trust in me and I built trust in you, I think it just came. Like it just came all of a sudden. Not until we actually started like, you know, changing titles did I ever really think like, oh, like I am the leader here or a leader here, you know?
But you knew that that's what you are at your core as a leader.
Yes, that's just who I am in my core. Yeah.
And eventually it always catches up to you wherever you go in your career.
Always, no matter what I'm doing.
People will want you to lead, right?
Yes, so, always.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of seen with you is like, okay, she's a great leader. And she could definitely step into these roles where she can manage people and she can make sure that the project gets from A to Z, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's been great watching your growth here is knowing that, okay, cool, we have somebody that's not afraid to speak up.
Yes.
Sometimes it gets you in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? But it's better to speak up than to keep your mouth shut. And I think, you know, everybody we work with, and I shout out to my brother Corvain, one day we were talking. He was like, you know who I need to make this call for me? Tai. Can you make Tai make this call for me? Because she's going to get it done. And that to me was a testament of what our clients and our partners
I appreciate that. I really
see you as. It's like she's going to get it done and she's not going to play around and she's going to make sure that 3isFor is represented in the highest light.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
100%.
So that's what I've seen so far, and that's what I've seen in your growth. Yes, you came in humble and like, okay, I just want to help. And I remember the conversation we had in Florida, and he was like, man, I want to continue to make this company money, and I want this to continue to keep going. I don't never have a blind ear or deaf ear to any of our conversations or any conversation I do have in the company. So I always hear that you believe in a vision and you believe in your co-founders. And that is something that Kris, Dave, and I can always use fuel to our fire to keep on fighting for you guys. You know what I mean? All right, so let's talk about your experiences that prepared you for this leading role in 3isFor. I would love to talk about Tai Light and you working across PR and your beauty and fashion. So you speak a little bit about that earlier and your experience with that. How did that experience prepare you for ultimately stepping into director of production here?
Well, I think when you have your own business, you have to wear every single hat.
Yep.
You know, so you're forced to learn. I'm a firm believer in I can't manage or lead something I don't understand. Right. So even if I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, this I'm going to outsource, this I'm going to have someone else do it, it was always very important for me to understand the work. So I think my experience with my company helped me to just understand production, how to, like we always say here, production is a production. So whether it's a beauty production, film, TV, it's all the same thing. It really is just organizing. That's when people ask me, how do you explain production? Because it's such an umbrella term. I'm like, organizing. Right. It's just organizing, putting things in the right box, in the right place. And I had to do that with my brand. I had to make sure that, every single part was getting done. And that's what really prepared me. But not just Tai Light. I think working in the industry as a makeup artist, and then once you start branching out and you want to do your own shoots, I didn't have the money to hire a producer. I'm I'm the producer.
So you did.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I had to produce my own shoots, and then also too with my friends. Obviously, when you were in this industry, your friends all are doing different things, whether if I have friends that are stylists, photographers. So we're always collectively producing because it's not until you really have a bag are you really hiring a producer to run your shoot. It's usually the person whose brand it is, person whose idea it is, doing the production and their friends. So I just think it was a life thing. My whole journey and my whole career has been producing.
So would you say that having to put on all those hats, it helps you not only produce, but manage clients and projects with confidence because you know what it takes to be in the position of the person you're trying to talk into doing something or into, hey, somebody's about to get on camera and they need or somebody we're working with needs to shoot. And you're like, listen, I got to prep you. But you know how to prep them because you're like, I've been in this space before because I've had to be that hat for everything.
Exactly. And I've also been talent. So I'm like, I know how to be in front of the camera, behind the camera, beside the camera. I've played all of the roles on set, so I'm able to kind of see it from a top level view. Right.
So I want to talk about why, obviously you're here and you believe in us and our vision and our mission, but why the mission matters, right? Can you speak about the difference between the transactional, projects we do and the heart-driven ones that share our core mission and values?
Yeah, I think it starts with, understanding your client and understanding their expectations and their priorities. Right. If their priority is on a timeline, we need to get this done at, this date and it needs to be this amount of seconds, going into the creative that way, making sure that the editors understand it that way. Yes, I know you personally may see something and you want it to be a little bit longer, but that client's priority is for it to be a 90-second social cut, for it to go up on social media in 48 hours. So I think those little nuances kind of differentiate. With a more value-driven client, they might be a little bit more flexible on the deadline and the time that we take to execute the project. And that can be communicated to the team. Okay, I know this, you can kind of run with this a little bit further. Yep. than you could if it was a client who just needs this by Friday.
Right. Yeah, I get it for sure. And that makes a lot of sense because, you know, like you said, yeah, they do give us a little bit more freer range on the value-driven stuff because not to say that for the client that needs it by Friday, we're always looking for the best work to give them, of course.
Exactly.
We're going to make sure you got the best stuff, but we also want the client to be happy with every shot that's chosen and edited in. But sometimes with the value-driven stuff, like you said, we're going to make sure that we really, if this going to take us extra time because we're really trying to hit home with it, then they kind of understand that a little bit more. So I get it.
It's like a dance between client, producer, producer.
So could you tell me how the values-driven production has unlocked your creativity more?
I love that question. I think as a producer, especially if you handle a lot of the logistics, it's so easy to just get lost in the organization. Like we need to just get this done, get this done, get this done. I think the value-driven work has unlocked my creativity by like just making me stop. Like, you know, just making me stop and really watch it, really listen. And it happens like literally all of a sudden because it's like, okay, I'm so focused on getting it done and making sure everyone has what they need to get it done and that the client is happy. When I get that cut from Kelly and I can just like sit down and watch it, it's like exciting. It's inspiring. And I'm like, oh, like you just realize what you're doing does matter and it does have creativity towards it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna just repeat. I'm just echo what you said. You're right. Okay. You're right. I was gonna have something special to say. I was like, but you know what? She outdid me on that one. Right?
Really? Okay.
So, what are you most excited about in the future for 3isFor? This is only the beginning. Obviously, you've been here a while, but we really rocking now. We got a lot of things going on. We got the podcast out. We got plenty clients. We're stepping into new worlds with those clients and things. What are you excited for in the future of 3isFor as we build and as you build here?
I'm really excited for the experiential work. I think in that world, there's so many more pockets to be creative. Like, you know, when it comes to just like the build and the fabrication, like there's so many different areas to be creative, even like the banner. You know what I mean? So I think that's exciting because, you know, obviously in video production, it really is just the video. That's the meat and potatoes. Right. In this new world, there's just like so many different pockets. And I feel like everyone can kind of get in their creative bag in experiential.
I love that part too, that we are diving into experiential and we've been doing that more. Because as I tell Kris and Dave, I'm like, just like through the content, it's still storytelling. We can storytell through the event. We can storytell through the experience. That is the main storytell to me, is for somebody to go back and tell a story of how much fun they had. That is still storytelling in every aspect of it, right? So that part I love, and I'm excited for that in the future as well. And obviously I know you're excited to keep leading these projects and managing people to make sure it all goes well for us.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, this has been amazing. Before we go though, I do want to tell people that this is not your last episode here.
No, this is not my last episode.
She will be back. The next episode will be, the next episode with Tai, in Tai's Light, we'll be talking about something special that you've been leading for 3isFor that I'm a big fan of, and I guess I would say that it all ties into the podcast and it ties into everything. You have been brewing up on 4 Good Fashion.
Oh my God, yes.
A regenerative streetwear brand. Yes. Can you talk about that a little bit? But that's what we are going to be talking about next episode.
I'm excited. I didn't even know.
Get people excited for it. Yes, you didn't even know, but that's what we're going to be speaking.
To talk about that.
We're speaking about 4 Good Fashion.
Yes, 4 Good Fashion. It's a regenerative streetwear brand. So that's like it in a nutshell. And I'm really excited. So streetwear is not like my original home in fashion. Like, I'm very extra. So I'm used to like, you know, more of like the avant-garde stuff. But as I get older, I do get a more simple style. So I feel like 4 Good Fashion came like right in time with my fashion as well. So I'm just really excited to kind of talk through that. And, you know, it was kind of like going back to my roots working on that project, because I went from like fashion to beauty. So I was in the beauty space for a very, very long time. So it's like going back to like my childhood passion. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm about to say, we giving them too much. We
Yeah,
giving them
sorry.
episode. We giving them the
My
next
bad.
episode. We talk about too much in a
Sorry.
full good fashion, but I can't
Cut that
wait
out.
to speak about it with you guys on the next episode here. It may be in the Yurt. She may be in Paris. Because
Maybe.
before we get out of here, I'd love to hear about that transition as well. Like,
Yeah.
she started in New York, and
Yes.
now you officially live in Paris?
I'm actually going to London after this, so I'm still a nomad. But I love Paris. I think Paris might be it, but I still need to kind of shop around.
Do you find it easier to work from Paris than to work from the US?
It's funny because I've been in the States for like 3 weeks. And it's actually very hard for me to now work on the normal schedule. I love the European
'Cause of the timing?
schedule. Yeah, like I love having like my mornings.
Are your mornings our nights?
Kind of. It's still like
So
the
when we
middle
do
of the
our
night.
call, our all hands meeting,
That's 6 p.m. for me.
that's not bad. That's not
No,
bad. Okay.
but I have
Standard
a lot
time.
of calls afternoon. So
Wow.
sometimes like 10. Like if I have a 4 p.m. call, it's quiet.
And
for
you're
me.
up for those.
Yeah, I'm up a lot later, but I like having my mornings. I like the opportunity to like, if I feel like I'm behind, I can like catch up before you guys
You're okay
wake
with
up.
the sacrifice.
Yeah, like
It's
so
worth
I
it for
really
you.
like the European schedule, and I miss it. I really miss the
Y'all
schedule.
hear that, man? She's out here working all hours of the night.
All hours.
European hours at that.
Yes.
But yes, y'all, this is the For Good podcast. This is Tai's Light, another segment of the For Good podcast in the Yurt, guys. And we will see you guys next time on the For Good podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, where we're measured on what we do, not what we have. It's your boy JoJo and Tai signing out. Peace.
Bye, guys.
3isFor.